But this is the most OP buckler I think you can get.
Oh, the hook. The hook got it.
Swords are becoming... Look at, I mean, that's stuck under 2 bars.
God, and then he's got to get it out. Oh, hen's teeth. Hi, it's Todd from Todd's Workshop and Todd Cutler here with...
Matt Easton, Schola, Gladiatoria.
So, there's a whole series of films that Matt and I do from time to time called Weird Weapons. Go check them out if you want, they're brilliant, obviously. And we find something, I find something weird from history, a little bit unusual from museum and manuscript. I reproduce it to the best of my abilities, and I hand it over to Matt without him knowing anything about it. And this is one of those. So we've done chain flails, tournament maces, all sorts of weird things. But I haven't done one of these.
Right.
It's not sharp.
So, oh, well, that's good to know.
Oh, need technique on that one.
Ah, it's one of these.
It is one of those. So before we go on, I'm going to show you what one of those is. So it's this. And it is a buckler shield, but it's got this sword catching cage on the front. So bucklers are a normal kind of civilian thing, not military, not battlefields, but you wear them about town, you get in a little bit of a fight. You've got one of these handy. That's about the size of it, isn't it?
Yeah, so this is a specifically Italian style, and the sort of rectangular type is known as a Targa.
So not a buckler.
Well, it's a subset of buckler. So it is a buckler, but it's specifically a Targa. Right. In the same way that a pavis is a type of shield, I guess. But and they're really, really characteristic, and we know quite a lot about their use from Italian treatises, such as the most famous one is Achille Marozzo, writing in 1536 in a book called Opera Nova.
Because this is dated from the Wallace Collection around 1540.
Yeah, and there's a good chance that they dated it based on the treatises that feature these. Yeah, so they're one of those things that I don't think there's any evidence of before about 1530, and then suddenly they come out of nowhere. And what's interesting is Marozzo's treatise has separate sections for sword and buckler, so spada and bocchiero, or spada and targa, which is this.
Right, so there's slight differences in how they're used.
Yeah, and they're usually iron and they're rectangular. They're sort of trapezoid, so they're usually wider at the top than at the bottom, and they are corrugated like this.
Yeah. And have you ever used one with a cage on it?
No, I've never used one at all, actually. Right. I do know some people that fence with Targa, but as far as I can remember, I've never fenced with one.
But you've used a buckler?
Oh, loads of times, yeah,
right.
Yeah.
So, first question, the hook on the front here.
Yeah.
There are 2 in the Wallace Collection, at least 2 that I can think of.
Yeah.
Both got hooks on the front.
Yeah.
One goes up, one goes down.
Oh, really?
They're different.
And there are round bucklers with hooks on the front as well.
Is that, I guess, we'll probably never really know, is that a suspension thing for hanging off your belt, off your pocket, whatever?
It would make sense, wouldn't it?
It would. But then one's upside down. So, or the other point being, of course, is it some sort of trapping type entity?
So, in a nutshell, I don't know. There's been
nice
a lot
bit of honesty. Good.
Yeah, there's been a lot of debate over the years.
Oh, really?
About these, yeah. And obviously, you could hook that on a belt, but here's the problem: these are never shown in artwork being worn with the handle outwards.
Right.
They're always shown being worn with the front outwards, bucklers, that is. I literally don't, I mean, maybe the viewers do know of an example, which I don't know about. Yeah. There is another possible thing related to this. So we do know that sometimes lanterns or other objects were hung from bucklers. So, for example, the night watch going around the town at night would walk around with a buckler with a lantern hanging off.
Okay, so interestingly, is it just simply that you've got the ability to draw a sword with one hand, or a staff weapon or whatever in your hand, and if you're carrying a lantern, you're now undefended? If you've got the lantern hanging on your buckler,
yeah, I mean, potentially, or it could just be a degree of laziness that if you're going to walk around with the buckler out, you may as well have something to hang the lantern off. But additionally, there's even a legal aspect, because certain cities in Europe, and this was true in England as well, it was illegal to go around the streets after curfew, which was, I think, about 9 o'clock, without a lantern,
Right.
because the unwritten thing was, if you were going around the streets without a lantern, you were definitely up to no good. So it was the law that you have to have a lantern. Well, if you have to have a lantern, you might as well hang it off something, I guess. But as for trapping blades, well, the way I think of it is you've already got all these bars on the front for trapping blades, so why would you need that hook?
Yeah,
you know,
it's pretty, if that's its purpose, it's pretty superfluous.
Yeah.
Okay, no, I'll agree with that analysis. So whatever it is, it's probably not a blade trapping type event.
I mean, I think the other thing that might be interesting to view is the construction of the grip.
I didn't have a picture on the back.
But that is almost always how Targa grips. The only different way I sometimes see, so we have this like capital I or H shape with these two bars, because it has to be like that because of this corrugated shape. But what's interesting as well is the way that you hold the buckler is with the thumb up there. And some of these have a little plate to put your thumb on with an actual thumb place, a bit like a saber grip.
Right.
And that's the earliest example that I'm aware of any weapon having a thumb placer on it. But yeah, you put the thumb up there and that actually helps you steer the buckler. And of course these corrugations, bars aside, because obviously the bars are there for catching points, but just the corrugation themselves gives you greater control over the opponent's blade. But for the most part, the Targa in actual use is usually held at angles. So it's usually held angled forwards or angled back, and it's usually held at diagonal angles. And what that means is cuts coming downwards will hit this and skip off one way or the other there, rather than just stopping on the top. They will essentially lance off either side. But additionally, you can receive cuts like that in order to trap and control them against the flat side as well. And that's where having the thumb against the grip is really important as well. So they're really versatile shields. You can deliberately deflect with them. They can also be turned to either side as well. So if, for example, a person threatened this side and you angled the shield that way, and then they looped under what we call a disengage underneath your buckler, your Targa here, you can turn it to that side to engage that side and then attack here. So they're incredibly versatile. They're a little bit like, well, they are a cross between a bigger pavis and a buckler. They've got qualities of both.
But I think we should have a look at somebody using it. So
Absolutely.
Do you think you can drum up a couple of people?
I'm sure I can find a couple of willing volunteers, yeah.
Hi, we've interrupted the film for another Todd Cutler related interesting fact. So here we have a late 16th century main gauche, left-hand dagger. English, and you can tell that because it's all small and compact. Small guard, small pommel, small blade. Loved them big on the continent, we like them small over here. Go figure. Anyway, you'll find this and loads of other pieces on toddcutler.com. Back to the film. So it's time to do a bit of sparring to see how this thing works. So over here we have Nick. He's got a YouTube channel actually, the Academy of Historical Fencing, and then we have Jordan over here. But the first thing is we're not going to do it with steel weapons. The reason for that is I am proud of this thing. It is a lovely object and I don't want it full of dings and scrapes. But you can see with this thin bladed dargan here that it can go right through. That is then the possibility to just move the shield, to break it, to do whatever it is that you want to do. We're not doing that because I don't want to trash it. But the thing is, you can see with weapons like this partisan here, even though this is a nylon, it can go right underneath. And then the user is in trouble. Oh God, and then he's got to get it out. Oh, hen's teeth.
Oh, there we go.
So they really do catch blades. So Nick at the moment is using a side sword that will not fit through that cage. Jordan is using a blade that will. Right, take it away, guys.
So obviously when the point goes past the Targa, you've got no real control over that point. So one of the great things about a left-hand dagger, you've got the blade and the cross guards. You can sort of control the thrusting blade more. But this gives you an element of that.
Mm. But I mean, every time oh, that was lovely. So the blade bent right round on that one. Oh, the hook. It's the hook got it.
Oh, was that the hook?
That was the hook. Went between the hook and the bars, and then it just caught right in there. So it bent around the hook like that.
Right, okay.
So whether that was like a decisive thing, I don't know. But the hook definitely interacted with the blade.
So maybe that hook is something to do with the...
Oh, I think it was Steffi, explain.
Yeah, caught again. So I mean, it is very effective. Very effective.
And
at stopping.
I think for anyone who doesn't, for anyone who doesn't necessarily know about normal bucklers, they just don't do this at all. A typical buckler, everything just glances off it.
Yeah. Yeah, and again.
Aha.
So, I think, could you do one thing for me, Nick?
Yep.
That hook, if you just have a look at the front of the shield again, try and work out if there's a reasonable way that you, even if you have to do this very slowly to choreograph it, see if there's a reasonable way that you could use that hook defensively in some way.
Just hold your sword out, Sack, in front, so we can get it this way. That could work. This way,
Standing there eventually.
maybe right-handed. This is much harder, but...
I think if you manage to push the front of your fist towards Jordan's point, there's a good chance it will end up underneath both those.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I did
It's
it
almost
again.
like punching his tip.
Yeah, so just keep nice point forward guards.
Oh, nice.
That stopped it dead.
Yeah, so that was interesting. It didn't actually go under the hook. It went under the circular one that time. But it absolutely caught it in that ring. So you can actually be more aggressive with the buckler. So rather than just using it passively, as soon as a person puts their tip down forwards, jam your
Move onto
buckler
it,
straight
because
onto
then
it.
they have to react backwards to get it out.
Yeah, it's a trap.
Which is not true with a normal buckler, because as you said, blades will always slip off.
What about a partisan? What about something that's not a sword?
Okay, let's do it. Who wants partisan? Who wants the shield?
What do you want to use?
I'll use partisan, so you use buckler right-handed.
Okay, cool.
So the question here is, Todd, if a partisan gets stuck in the front of a Targa buckler,
Yeah.
what are you supposed to do next? Because you're too far away to reach the spearman with your sword. So do you just drop the buckler?
I think you drop the buckler because his weapon is now disabled.
Well, so obviously this is a nylon simulator, and this isn't always going to go stuck under the bar, but even then, just the friction against the bar is enough for Nick to push the point aside for him to close in, which is all he really needs.
Like that.
Yeah.
Feeling very reticent to get my point online.
Yeah, exactly. So it makes you far more reluctant to hold that point out.
So if you couldn't hear that, Jordan, there we go. In fact, hold that to camera.
Oh, look at that.
That's just happened, Jordan. What do you do now?
Yeah.
All right. So that one came out, but luckier than I was.
Oh, see, that would have got stuck.
Yeah.
It's just because the blade was too fat to go under.
Oh, nice.
Oh.
But it is. I think we're not seeing it. Actually, we're not seeing it at its best because it's not really binding the blades like, ironically, we saw right at the beginning with me.
Yeah.
But I think its utility is just written all over it. It's brilliant.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of that.
Yeah.
And also in an age where swords are becoming. Look at, that's stuck
Again.
under 2 bars. Look at that. So the question is, at this point, let's assume...
What would you do now?
Yeah, let's assume, Jordan, that you can't pull this out now. First of all, probably your best option is to drop the partisan and either run or pull out your sword or backup weapon. Yeah? You kind of divided. If he drops the weapon, well then maybe you just go in with drop the whole lot. Yeah. If he keeps hold of the weapon and is trying to tug it out, you're both joined to each other. So at that point, your best option might be to drop the buckler, because now he's got a partisan, but it's got a buckler attached to the end of it. So he can't stab you. Exactly. He can't stab you, and it's really unwieldy.
Yeah, we use it as an axe.
Yeah.
Onto the spear.
And your other option, of course, from here would be to let go of that and basically go in for a grab on his weapon instead. So
Well, that's not coming out.
no,
Right, here we go again.
you've got to show that to the camera, because that's literally stuck under 2 bars.
You care to grab the buckler?
Yeah.
And
So, hold on.
like, bear in mind,
And there we are.
if that's stuck under 2 bars with the fat nylon blade, a steel blade would be well and truly right the way, probably sticking with the point out here, completely jammed underneath there.
I think that's probably everything we need, really. So that's it, really. Informally, thoughts, talk.
I mean, Matt was pointing out it's kind of smashing the centre into the tips, and the moment you actually just push that front into the tip of the partisan or the tip of the sword, it's just aggressively snagging all over the place. So that was quite interesting, and you're keeping it kind of front on to the tip, which is working really, really well, just aggressively smashing it in.
I found that actually, as long as you were driving the centre of the shield into your opponent's blade, you could quite aggressively just swing the shield, crash the shield into the opponent's blade, and just trust that it probably will catch.
Yeah, and you can obviously use a normal buckler offensively, but this is just so much easier and surefire. There are so many places for a point to catch in there, and the corrugated nature of it and the nature of that grip makes it very stable as well, that it's quite intuitive. I get the impression you can really almost just basically punch towards the opponent's weapon, and you stand a really high percentage chance of it just catching something, you know?
Let's wrap it up.
Yeah.
I would say fabulous. Matt?
Yeah, 110%.
Nick?
Fantastic.
Jordan?
B square.
Honestly, I think of all the weird weapons we've looked at, this is probably the most successful and convincing weird weapon of all of them.
No, I think you're right. So first of all, I'd just like to thank Nick and Jordan again. Don't forget to go check out Nick's channel, and there'll be a link in the notes. And then Matt, really, I'm going to give you my conclusions first, but mine aren't really as valid as yours in this context. But I'd agree with you. This really, really worked. And it's now leaving me with the thought, why wasn't every buckler like this? Because it's brilliant. It was just obviously brilliant.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing that springs to my mind is this comes at the beginning of the age of the rapier. Okay, so in HEMA we generally refer to the swords used at this time as side swords. They're cut and thrust swords, but really by 1550 you're already starting to see a lot of swords being very longer and longer and thrust centric, and so this comes around at exactly the time you'd expect it to, because you're dealing with opponents who are now, instead of holding the point offline and cutting lots and moving around like this, they're now holding the blade out here towards you, and that's the deterrent. If you're the guy, you're not quite caught up with the new cool way of these rapier newfangled swords, and you want to have something to fight against them, this is the ultimate, to me, that's the ultimate anti-rapier.
It really seemed to make Nick and Jordan hesitant about wanting to commit.
Yeah, it makes the person who wants to hold their weapon with a point on line start to think about not holding a point on line or pulling it back and stuff like this. And this can be used, I think people always think of shields as a defensive thing, but this can be used really offensively, I think.
Yeah. So altogether, weird weapon. Fantastic. Thumbs up for that
big
one.
Thumbs up for this one.
Or that and the chain flail as well. You quite like that one.
Yeah, from a silly point of view. I wouldn't want to really have to fight with one.
But anyway, I think that'll do. So Matt and Lucy Easton Skirmish, brilliant event. Come check it out. But thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Guys, thank you very much.
Thank you as well.
Absolute pleasure. See you again.